Honey, I can't help this new love right here. You're above, watching your newly found centerfold. Your new favorite centerfold. Keep on loving how hard it is not to smile. Speak to me in bottles of booze. Tell me all about them crazy things you do. Along with all the crazy things we'll do.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. My name is Clint Davis, and here's the problem. We are live on Spreaker.com. Today is Sunday, June 18th, 2017. Today is also Father's Day. So for all you dads out there, including my own, happy Father's Day. Now, one would probably be under the assumption that I'm going to do a show about Father's Day. But one would also be wrong. I am not going to do a show about Father's Day. Let me tell you something, folks. I had a complete show written for this week. I had a lot of material that I was going to talk about, and a lot of that material was about a subject that I had touched on in another episode. And a lot of people had asked me, they said, hey, Clint, what's your views on certain, they know that obviously now I'm a Trump supporter. So in light of supporting Donald Trump, there's some questions that they had. Some of the biggest questions that surround Donald Trump is, where does Donald Trump stand on LGBTQ issues? And one of the things I wanted to talk about was that Donald Trump has not and will not set out to take marriage equality from the LGBTQ community. It was something that was passed by the Supreme Court, and someone had said to me, well, the president can't get rid of marriage equality. Well, technically that's correct. Technically that's incorrect. And here's how I explained it. The president of the United States, no matter who it is, the president cannot get rid of marriage equality on his own or her own, whoever or whenever this may happen. I don't think it ever will, but hypothetical situation. The president cannot get rid of marriage equality on their own. They can't do it. It's not possible. But as we've seen with President Trump, he has nominated a Supreme Court justice, and if he gets the chance to nominate another one in the future, or maybe two more before his presidency is over, he's got a lot better shot at stacking the deck on the conservative side on the Supreme Court. Now, if there was a president who said, I want to get rid of marriage equality, true, can't do it on his own, but if he stacks the deck in favor of the conservatives on the Supreme Court, he could easily go back to the Supreme Court and say, we need another ruling on this. We have got to get rid of marriage equality, and it could be done away with. But now, do I think that will ever happen? Personally, I don't. I don't think it's an issue. I don't think it's going to happen. But hypothetically, if it did, then I will absolutely take my support away from whatever candidate wants to take rights away from Americans. Now, what the show was going to center around today, this week, was the LGBTQ marches that have taken place and are scheduled to take place at the end of this month, at the end of June, and on into July. And for people kind of like me who are sometimes ignorant to issues that don't pertain to me, I started thinking, why are they still marching? They've got their marriage equality. And here's the problem with that. The problem is I made the mistake, like millions of Americans do, I made the mistake of thinking that the LGBTQ community's fight was over when they gained marriage equality. But that's not where the fight stops. Marriage equality is one piece of the puzzle for millions of Americans, but it is not the entire puzzle. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, I want to start off by giving a shout out to the gentleman who provides the music for Here's the Problem right here on Spreaker.com, a gentleman named Levi Shane, who happens to be a member of the LGBTQ community. And I've talked about his music. I've told you guys where to find him. Go to soundcloud.com/Demon in the Mirror. And that's where you can find Levi Shane's music. Now, I pointed that out, and I had a friend of mine who went to the page and shot me a message and said, dude, did you know this guy's gay? And my response was, yeah, that's kind of why he's one of my friends. And Levi has been in a relationship, still in a relationship with a very, very good friend of mine, someone who is like a brother to me, has been for about 16 years now, and his name is Heath Brown. And we're going to talk about Heath here in just a little bit because I had a long, long conversation this week with Heath. In fact, when I had written for the podcast, when I was finished doing all the writing, I had everything planned out, I started to look at what I wrote, and it started to seem, as I said before, I was a little ignorant to a lot of things. It started to seem a little bit shallow. So I jumped on the phone, I called Heath, and I said, hey, Heath, I want to run some ideas by you. And I did that because not only is Levi providing the music for the show, I didn't want to disrespect these guys, not just because they're friends, but I didn't want Levi's music to be represented the wrong way, and that's just a respect thing. So Levi was at work. I got to talk to Heath for a long time. It's been a while since I've talked to Heath, but I got to have a phone conversation with him, which was great. And so I kind of laid out my side of the fence, and then Heath, in typical Heath fashion, that's why I love the dude, he completely turned the tables. And he didn't make me understand, but he got me to understand that there are so many more issues, deeper issues, concerns in the LGBT community, deeper than marriage equality. The marriage equality thing for now, it's over. But the fight's not over. Just let me start out by reading. I'm going to read you something from the National Review. I was doing a lot of research for this episode. I went to the National Review, and I came across an article titled "The March Against What Now?" And when I looked at the top of this, it says the LGBTQ Equality March has little to no basis in reality. Now, this was written by someone that I can assure you the members of the LGBTQ community are going to disagree with. Her name is Tiana Lowe. She is at Tiana the First on Twitter. It's all one word, at Tiana the First, Tiana. And I know some people are going to go check her out. They're not going to follow her, but they're going to go check her out just to see what she has to say. I know that because what's the first thing we do when we don't understand? We do a little research. So I started to read, and I was read nearly all of it until I talked to Heath. And now all I'm going to read is the very first paragraph, and then we're going to get deeper into where the problem lies. And the article starts out, another week, another protest against the president. Russian hookers and pathetic attempts at infrastructure week aside, the never-ending cavalcade has to be the most annoying feature of Trump's America. To be fair, some of the protests so far have had honest grounding in Trump's behavior and record. One could argue that the Women's March held weight thanks to Trump's disdainful rhetoric about women, or that the People's Climate March was necessary because Trump had called climate change a concept, quote, created by and for the Chinese, end quote, which is kind of ridiculous. As recently as 2012 that happened. But the upcoming LGBTQ equality march has little to no basis in reality. That's the end of that first paragraph. So here's the problem, people. The LGBTQ equality march absolutely has a ton of basis. And I'm going to tell you, it's a matter of life and death. Now, some people are going to hear that, and they're going to say, what are you talking about, Clint? Are you trying to say that Donald Trump is going to kill everybody in the gay community? No. That's not what I'm saying at all. But some of the policies that we need to get passed in this country are going to affect the LGBTQ community hard. And I'll get into numbers here in a minute. I'll explain what I'm talking about. But one of the episodes we did was called Trump Care 101. Now, I like a lot of aspects about the American Health Care Act, which is what the Republicans are trying to pass right now. The hang-up is pre-existing conditions. And one thing that Heath and I talked about on the phone, and I said to Heath was, the one thing that's bad about health care in America, and nobody has done this. Obamacare didn't do it. Trump Care isn't doing it. No one has done it so far. What we have to plan for in America is coverage for everybody, regardless of pre-existing conditions, regardless of what may happen to them in the future. We have to think about what type of health care, because this is life and death. What type of health care can we provide to the United States of America, to 300 plus million people in this country, regardless of what they may have gone through or what they're about to go through? And it doesn't matter. It could be HIV, it could be AIDS, it could be cancer, it could be lupus, it could be women who have had abortions, it could be acne, for Pete's sake. Any of these things. It doesn't matter what it is. We have got to provide health care to the American people that is going to guarantee coverage to everybody, regardless of anything, any excuses we can come up with. We have got to find something. So that's what we're going to look at right now. So why is health care so important to the LGBTQ community? Well, let's get into some stats here. Part of the conversation that I had with Heath, I asked him for consent to use his name to talk about this, and he said, absolutely. He said, if this conversation, if this podcast can reach one person and educate one person, then we've done our jobs. So that's what we're going to get into. Heath happens to be a member of the LGBTQ community who also lives with HIV. Now, we talked a little bit about his health care, about his medication. 2 of his medications alone cost more than $3,000 a month. And anyone in their right mind knows that you cannot pay for that on your own unless you are a multimillionaire or you make ridiculous amounts of money every month and blow it on whatever you want. I personally don't have any type of health care at all. I don't qualify for Obamacare. I applied for it just to see what I'd qualify for, and they approved me for this is a true story. I did this when I was 33 years old. They approved a 33-year-old man for birth control. Think about that. I can go to Walmart and buy condoms all day. But Obamacare approved me for birth control. So that's not the issue here. The issue is there's a big problem in America, and obviously we've known about HIV, we've known about AIDS since the 1980s, although we were pretty ignorant about it up even into the 90s. And what I don't want people to think, I don't want you to think that I am associating HIV and AIDS only with the LGBTQ community. The reason why I'm talking about the LGBTQ community is because they have these marches coming up. I don't know of any other community in America or any other group of people